My name is Ada, Odel Rusovsky. I was 7 years old when the war started. I was born in 1938. Don't faint. We were in the concentration camp, and it's definitely worse than the ghetto, because the conditions were really difficult. So they brought us there, put us all inside a room, and they put more and more people in until there was not enough room to lay on the floor. On a cold floor, without a blanket, without a pillow. And on this cold floor, we spent 2.5 years. I was 7 years old on the beginning of the war. And of course, my parents was older. My sister was 17 years old. She was blooming, very beautiful girl. And that's why it was really hard with her. Because every Nazi, every Romanian, every Polizei in Ukrainian is a police officer. So they were harassing her, and that made it even worse. But let's come back to the story. The room was tiny, 10 feet, from both sides. For 2.5 years we were laying down with all the people. For a kid, it was possible to straighten his legs, but not for an adult. They were sleeping with their legs together. On winter, we were using our coats as a blanket. In the summer, when it was warm, we used it as a softer and slept on it. That's the way we lived. And more about the condition that we lived with. They didn't feed us at all. Everyone got food in their own way. We spared every crumb, every flour scoop. We cooked everything we could over the fire with cooking pot. And the problem was in the winter. Rain and snow. The woods are too wet. But when we finally could make a fire after 10 hours of waiting, a policeman or a Nazi or a Romanian passed by us. He moved the pot with his leg, and everything spilled. Until the next day, we remained hungry. The room we lived in for 2.5 years was unheated. That means 3 cold winters. In Ukraine, the winters are really cold. 40 degrees was a normal temperature on a cold floor with no carpet. That's the way we were surviving. No showers. In the summer, we could wash ourselves in the Buka lake. It was nearby the room we lived. So we had the option to wash ourselves in the summer, but on the other 3 seasons, especially in the winter, it was impossible. So for 9 months, every year, we couldn't take a shower. And now we couldn't even imagine ourselves to not take a shower once a day. The young generation now cannot imagine even not to take a shower every day. And we didn't wash ourselves for 9 months every year. And of course, we had horrible fleas. I'm sharing disgusting things, but that's the way it was. The day started with people who was sitting on the floor and started to clean their clothes out of fleas, because the room was full of them. And the second event that was happening is getting dead bodies that died in the night out of the room. You can sleep here, and next to you is a dead body. So we couldn't get the bodies out once at 24 hours. And the most hard thing that we went through was that the Nazis decided to do medical experiments on us. Maybe you heard about those experiments. They wanted to see how the human can survive typhoid fever in conditions of hunger. So all the camp was sick with this fever. Of course, nobody knew about that. But it was enough to make one person sick, and soon enough, everybody was sick. And it was horrible. And more than that, they spread scabies. And with all the dirt around us, people were scratching the body, especially the hiding body parts. And that way, they had wounds with infection. It was horrible, and we looked wild. And because of the hunger, we all had bloody diarrhea. People were suffering a lot. When the war ended, and the German archives was opened, we discovered that 35,000 people went through our camp. After they counted, they said that there left 1,500 people. Can you imagine that almost 34,000 people died there? For that reason, the name that was given to the camp was Death Hook. People used to work there until they collapsed and weren't able to work anymore. So they took those ones, put them in a pit, buried them alive, and set an electricity current into the ground. One guy managed to escape, and he told us that for days the ground was going up. That's what the Nazis was doing. I came to Israel in '93 with my husband, my daughter, her husband, and kids, all the close family. When my uncle came to Israel in the '91, he asked us to move with him and his family from Lvov. From there, it was easier to move to Israel. I was so scared to move, and it took us time to decide. A year later, we started to take it more serious, and in '93 we moved here to Israel. And since then, we are living here. It was hard in the beginning, but we used to difficulties. I remember what I went through, and all the stories my parents told me, and it brings me to the point where I don't want our young generation to go through a war. I want all the Jewish nation to live in peace, so they can grow old. I want the young people who are fighting now to stay alive, so after that they will be able to live in a free country without any enemies and any trouble. It was Ada's story, and we hope it touched your heart as it touched our heart. And when you're supporting us, you're supporting Ada and so many other Holocaust survivors. So thank you so much for standing with us and supporting us.